The late afternoon sun beat down on the narrow country road, making the asphalt shimmer like glass. 10-year-old Kiera Adams trudged along the shoulder, her backpack heavy against her spine and her sneakers scraping the gravel. She was almost home when she saw it, a gleaming red Shelby GT 500 Mustang parked awkwardly to the side, its hood popped open like a mouth gasping for air. A man in an expensive suit paced beside it, clearly out of place in the rural, predominantly black community about 2 hours outside of Boston. His jacket looked like it cost more than everything in Kiera's house combined. She slowed as she watched him yell into his phone, waving his arms like a frustrated conductor. "I don't care how much the tow costs. I've been stuck here for 2 hours, and I have a meeting with the governor in less than 3. He checked a thick gold watch, clearly panicking. Kiera debated walking on. Her Aunt Camille always warned her not to talk to strangers, especially rich white men stranded in places like theirs. But something about the man's helpless frustration made her stop. She shifted her backpack, filled with school books and a small toolkit her Uncle Reggie had given her on her birthday. Reggie, a local mechanic with grease-stained hands and a gentle heart, always said, "You may not be able to fix everything in the world, Kiera, but you should at least know how to fix an engine." "Excuse me, sir," Kiera called cautiously. "Need some help with your car?" The man turned, startled. The irritation on his face softened into patronizing amusement when he saw the small girl with dark skin, multicolored braids, and an oversized MIT t-shirt. "That's kind of you, sweetheart," he said, "but this is a high-performance vehicle. I need a real mechanic." Kiera shrugged and stepped closer. "My uncle's a mechanic. He's taught me since I could hold a wrench. I can at least take a look." Before the man could protest, she had dropped her backpack and leaned over the engine. "When did it start acting up?" she asked, all business. "About 40 minutes ago. It overheated, then shut off." "Did it smell sweet?" "Like syrup." He blinked. "Yeah, now that you say it." "Coolant leak." She pointed to a puddle near the front tire. "You're losing fluid, and the engine overheated." The man stared, taken aback. She wasn't just playing. She actually knew what she was talking about. "What's your name?" he asked. "Kiera. Kiera Adams." She extended a hand, her fingers already smudged with grease. He shook it carefully. "Graham Ellis. Nice to meet you." Kiera opened her backpack again and pulled out a small metal kit. "I can patch the leak temporarily. You'll need to add water until you can get a proper repair." As she worked, Graham studied her. There was something about the tilt of her head, the way her brows furrowed in concentration. She reminded him of someone. And then he saw it, when she reached up to brush her braids back. A ring flashed on her finger. An emerald stone, antique gold, fitted with thread around the band so it wouldn't slide off her small hand. Graham froze. His heart slammed against his ribs. The ring. He'd given it to a girl, 12 years ago, at an orphanage called Haven Creek. A promise ring, a symbol that he would come back for her. And then, suddenly, the orphanage had shut down, and she'd vanished. "That ring," he whispered. "It's very unusual." Kiera looked down. "It was my mom's. Well, my adoptive mom's. She passed last year. Said it was a symbol of something important." "Where did she get it?" Kiera shrugged. "She never told me. Just said it came from someone special and that one day, I'd understand." Graham offered to drive her home as thanks. She hesitated but agreed. On the ride, he asked carefully worded questions. What school she attended, who she lived with, how long she'd been in the area. "I live with my Aunt Camille and Uncle Reggie," she explained. "Been here since I was 3. Before that, I was at an orphanage. Haven Creek. It closed." Graham nearly swerved. Haven Creek. By the time they reached her modest home, he knew. He handed her a business card before she left. "If you ever need anything, call me." She nodded politely and ran up the steps, the ring catching the sunlight as she waved goodbye. Graham sat motionless for a moment. Then he pulled out his phone and called his investigator. "Find everything you can on Kiera Adams and her adoptive mother, especially what happened at Haven Creek." What Kiera didn't know as she walked through her front door was that her life, and his, had just changed forever. 3 sleepless nights later, Graham stared at an enlarged photo of the ring. The crescent-shaped imperfection in the emerald. The one-of-a-kind stone. The one he'd commissioned. He dug through company records. 12 years earlier, his father, Raymond Ellis, had purchased the Haven Creek property under shady circumstances, claiming financial concerns. Months later, Graham had been named CEO of Ellis Global. His legal aid brought in documents, Haven Creek files, old memos, acquisition paperwork. One note stood out. Child, Kiera Adams. Special case. Contact Ari. His investigator called. I found something. Her mom, Cynthia Adams, died in a car crash last year. Brakes failed. Official report says mechanical error, but it's suspicious. No adoption records exist. As far as the state is concerned, Kira Adams never lived at Haven Creek. Meanwhile, Kira was in the backyard workshop, rebuilding an old stereo. It was her favorite place in the world, smelling of oil and time, filled with tools older than she was. Got it working. She grinned as Reggie entered. You got the soul of an engineer, kid, he said, beaming. Uncle Reggie, she said slowly. That man with the Mustang, Graham Ellis, he saw my ring. Got real weird after that. Gave me his card. Reggie's smile faded. He called for Camille, who stood silent at the door. Baby, she said gently, remember when we promised to tell you about your mom one day? That day's here. That night, Kira read a letter Cynthia had written before her death. It detailed how she'd once been a nurse at Haven Creek, how she'd fled with baby Kira when the orphanage shut down, how they'd hidden for years. Inside the envelope was a name she hadn't seen in years, Graham Ellis. Elsewhere, a journalist named Victor Kane was piecing together a story about Ellis Global and 5 orphanages that had shut down under mysterious circumstances. He was already looking into Kira. Raymond Ellis flew back from Florida in a rage. You found her, he demanded. That ring means nothing. It means everything, Graham replied. You don't get it. Some children are valuable. That girl can fix anything. We had plans. Military, medical, AI. Imagine what she could do. She's not a commodity, Graham growled. She's a kid. But Raymond wasn't finished. The ring was a failsafe. It contains access to classified data. What neither of them knew was that Kira had already unlocked the hidden compartment in the ring. Inside was a tiny chip, a drive with encrypted documents Cynthia had saved. Files that proved everything. Unethical experiments, falsified adoptions, government contracts. And Kira had already shared them with Victor Kane. 2 days later, federal agents burst into Ellis Global's boardroom, where Graham stood beside prosecutor Dana Mitchell. A massive screen displayed photographs, names, internal memos. 48 children with documented special traits. Unauthorized psychological trials. Payments to government officials. Surveillance footage showed Cynthia running with infant Kira in her arms. The room went cold. Victor Kane arrived moments later with Kira, Reggie, and Camille. Kira stood tall, clutching the ring. Your Project Aurora, Raymond sneered. I didn't expect a girl with braids and grease under her nails. And you're the man who killed my mom, Kira replied. But she didn't die in vain. She opened the ring. The hidden drive was already transmitting to Victor's live broadcast. This is going out to everyone, Victor said. You're not silencing this. Raymond was arrested on the spot. The fallout was immediate. Ellis Global collapsed. Multiple government officials resigned. Investigations swept through orphanages across the country. Graham gave up his fortune, launching the Aurora Initiative dedicated to mentoring gifted children from underserved communities. Kira co-founded the Adams Center for Inventive Youth, built on the old Haven Creek land. It offered free programs in engineering, coding, and invention. At 15, she held 3 patents and taught classes. Harvard, MIT, and Caltech were already courting her. Graham wore jeans now. He poured every ounce of his legacy into building something that mattered. Raymond rotted in prison, still claiming he'd rebuild. But no one listened anymore. At the center's opening graduation, Kira stood before a cheering crowd. When I was 10, I fixed a car, she said, holding the ring high. And everything changed. Not because of what I did, but because I refused to walk away. Applause erupted. Later, she read a letter from Raymond's estranged daughter, now a federal agent. We uncovered 5 more orphanages. 37 more kids. Thanks to you, they're safe now. Kira smiled. Funny, she told Graham. Your dad said he built a legacy. He did, just not the one he wanted. Graham laughed softly. And now, she asked. Now we build a better one. Together, they turned toward the future, where brilliance needed no pedigree, only opportunity. Where a ring once forged in secrecy had become a beacon of justice. And where every child, no matter their origin, had the right to shine.